Hello, this is Cate Stillman with the Yogahealer podcast. Welcome back. In this series, I'm talking about my book release, Master of You, which is coming out March 17th, 2020. In the last episode, I talked about what is Dharma, which is really the essence of Master of You, is how do you live a life aligned to your deeper purpose, to your ambition, to the kind of experiences that you want to design your life for. Like, what is your deeper dream? And how do you fulfill, how do you uphold who you are and who you want to become next in this lifetime? So if you missed that episode, go back and listen to that one after you listen to this one. They all will weave together and give you an experience of what the book is like, and hopefully you'll order the book. The book also comes with a free workbook online, and so if you get the book, there's instructions in the book on how to get the workbook. All right, so on with the show. So what I found in coaching members through the process of Awake Living course, which is the course behind the book, Master of You, this course that's how do you design your life so that you fulfill your greatest ambitions, and so that you up-level your personal spaces to be super supportive of who you want to become next, so that you align your time to have the kind of experiences in time that give you a sense of beingness and a sense of becoming. How do you align so that you experience deeper levels of flow and integrity, or water element? How do you live in a way that is really the most fulfilling life to you? And what we discovered, me and the Awake Living members along the way, is that there's a certain perspective. There's a number of perspectives that help the process of both being and becoming. And these perspectives can be taught, they can be learned, even for people who don't have this perspective at all coming in, that it helps. And so these perspectives, they're an ethos, they're an intentional culture, they're a set of ethics, if you will. They're mindsets, if you will. And they're ways of actually doing a check of like, am I thinking that way or not? And if I'm not, then that might be part of the problem. That might be part of maybe why I set goals and don't fulfill them. That might be why maybe I don't have control of my time. That might be why my house is always like in a state of like, instead of totally amazingly rejuvenating, etc. So I'm going to go in this episode into these ethos. And the first thing I'm going to do is just read the list. And if anyone who's listening has been a course member, you're going to be like, oh yeah, yep, I remember that one. All right. So the first one is orient towards thrive. It seems so simple, right? But think of like any given moment in the day where your awareness is orienting towards more chaos, or orienting towards self-destruction, right? Where you're thinking thoughts and you know where those thoughts go, and it's not the happy place. It's not a place of progress. So orient towards thrive. That's number one. And I'm just gonna read through them, briefly explain, and we'll see where we go, because we'll go deeper into some of them. Number 2, adopt a cosmocentric viewpoint. So a cosmocentric viewpoint is where you have a view of where you are in the cosmos. It's the perspective of deep time and deep space. So if you don't just look at your life as your life, but you look at it as a string of lives that go back to the history of the cosmos, to the Big Bang, to what was before the Big Bang, to the entire progress and progression. If you see where you fit in the whole, it shifts your perspective, and it's orienting, right? And that's so much of what we're doing in orienting, is like we're orienting what is Dharma, like what is our purpose, what is a more purposeful, meaningful life, what are we here to uphold. In the cosmocentric viewpoint, it can help too, like, you know, we can make a mountain out of a molehill. So what a cosmocentric viewpoint does is it actually helps us get perspective of maybe the lesson or the challenge that's in front of us right now. It can help us see what is the next chapter. And sometimes there's skills that are hard to master that are clearly part of this next part of our journey, this next part of our path. And if we have a deeper time, deeper space perspective, that can just really be orienting. The other thing it does is when we're stuck in what John Lennon sang to, what he wrote in the lyrics of I, me, my, like all through the day, I, me, my, I, me, my, I, me, my, right? Like what was he alluding to there, right? This whole like egocentric perspective. So we usually have no problem waking up in the egocentric perspective. So we can pivot immediately upon awaking into I'm part of the cosmos. Like I'm part of this long journey of evolution that created humans that have self-reflective awareness, that created all these amazing life forms, that created me here now. Why am I here now? Like where do I fit into the whole? Well, first let me be the whole. And then let me take on the robes. Let me take on the guise of my individuation. All right, that's number 2. It sounds, I would say, kind of harder than it is. Like it's just a practice. Number 3, evolve your identity. So this, again, is part of our ethos. This is part of the thing. Is like you, who you are, can evolve. Who you are can progress, or you can also choose to regress, right? You're so free. You're so free you can choose. Now, evolving your identity or nurturing identity evolution is a perspective that helps you see different phases of your life as evolutions, as identity evolutions. And even if you think back right now to like maybe who you were a few years ago, maybe what the habits of that person was, maybe the beliefs of that person, maybe the relationships that that person had. What you can probably see is that if you have oriented towards thrive, if you've had a bigger perspective than your own ego, like chances are you've been on an evolutionary path and things have changed. If you have accomplished some great things in the past few years, you'll notice that you had to learn and stretch and grow and gain new skills. You probably have actually different relationships, assets, resources because of that. Now, when we start to look forward, if we apply evolve your identity, there's just a simple perspective that you can change, that who you are is not static. You're not a noun. You're a verb. You're an isingness. You're a beingness that's also in action. And this is just simply very helpful when you look at big chunks of ambition and you break it down into smaller identity evolutions of like, first I need to evolve into the person who can do that, the person who knows these kind of people, the people that this actually came up in a training I was in last week where the person woke up to, like really woke up to that he has to start choosing healthy relationships over unhealthy relationships. He has to go look for new friends. He has to go discover communities that are healthy to just be in the culture of that rather than choosing basically abusive relationships. And this is a grown human, successful on many fronts, not successful in terms of healthy relationships. So when we see that, like nurture identity evolution, like I can be the kind of person who I'm becoming is a person who surrounds themselves with healthy relationships. Like that for this person is a massive shift. A massive identity evolution, which will require new skills. It will require skills in being able to identify codependent tendencies, etc. And that's how it always is with evolving identities. There's new skills. There's usually new skills. There's usually new relationships that like you need to create, you need to manifest, you need to nurture. All right, so that's number 3. Again, what we're doing here is the ethos. What is the ethos of Master of You? There's a whole chapter on this in the book. I'm just doing a quick touch in on each of these. And we use these in all the courses. We use them especially in Awake Living, which is the course behind Master of You. And what we find is that just simply having a code of ethics, and it's a long code, right? There's 12 of codes here. There's 12 of these. When you know them, you can self-reference back, and it's just a quick check-in of like, oh, right. Evolve your identity. Okay, number 4, nurture and nourish your 5 bodies. So 5 bodies is 5 koshas in Ayurvedic language. So your physical body is your annamaya kosha, sometimes called your food body. Your energy body is your pranamaya kosha. Your mental, emotional body is your manomaya kosha. Your intuitive body is your vijnana maya kosha, self-reflective vijnana. And your bliss body is your anandamaya kosha. And consciousness shoots through all 5 bodies, right? So when you have a perspective of nurturing and nourishing your 5 bodies, what this does is it helps you see, like when you're stuck in your mind or your mental body, like move your physical body and see what happens. Or if you're in your, the mind is really the biggest trap. When you're too much in your, for most people, some people actually, it's the prana body. Some people have gone like really far in the yogic path, and they're not sourcing as much from the power of their mental thinking, their cognitive capacities. So yeah, anything can happen, but cultural tendency right now, stuck in the mental body, sedentary life, not too in touch with intuition, or not acting from the intuitive body, not in touch with the bliss body. And so that's part of the ethos is like, don't get caught, orient. Okay, number 5 of our ethics here is heed the rhythm and the cycles. Now, the circadian rhythm, that life has rhythm, that life moves in cycles, that the planet, and this is really tied into cosmocentric viewpoint, right? Cosmocentric perspective. The sun sets, the sun rises. There's a reason, there's a rhythm. And when you heed the rhythm, you unlock deep energy. When you violate, it's a strong word, when you violate the rhythm, you suffer. You create unnecessary drama in your life. You create unnecessary dis-ease in your body. So my first book, Body Thrive, is on how to heed the rhythm and the cycles. It's pretty simple. There's 10 habits. If you haven't read the book, it'll help. There's a course that also goes with the book, as all things Yogahealer. All right, number 6, dun, da, da, da. Think big, test small, fail fast, learn always. So we borrowed this from design thinking, from lean startup methodology, which is think big is like have a very big perspective of your Dharma. And then what's the next small test you can run? Like where can you move the ball down the court? Where can you make progress? What do you think is your best action in stepping into deeper alignment, into stepping into your deeper ambitions, like right now, as in today? Now, fail fast is you're going to learn something from that. Where we don't learn is when we don't try new things, or we don't take small risks, or we don't put one foot in front of the other, but we just decide to like sit on the couch and think about it for a while. Nothing wrong with thinking, and we'll get into that in ambition. We'll get into strategic thinking, the kind of thinking where you have smoke coming out of your ears, right? Like real deep thinking. But I'm just talking about like, daydreaming. There's nothing wrong with daydreaming either. But if you're in a place where you're not moving forward, where you're not taking action, think big, test small, fail fast, learn always. Very helpful. So the fail fast. Fail, I love the acronym, first attempts in learning, especially for those of you who are perfectionist mindset, who think you should like get it right the first time and always get it right. It's just not actually a helpful perspective. Instead, running a lot of small tests, like getting in the habit of, and this actually ties into ethos number 8, which is embrace a solid B-, where you're not setting yourself up for perfection. You're setting yourself up for quick lessons learned and then applying. That's the learn always. Learn and then apply it next to how you're going to do your next test small. Number 6, this think big, test small, fail fast, learn always. I find that one and number 8, embrace a solid B- are some of the biggest shifts in perspective for members of Awake Living. Not on an intellectual level, but on a practical level. Like they understand the concepts of it, but to actually do it, no holds barred, right? Like to go for it with those two perspectives creates the greatest changes in their lives. They start to take rapid and massive action on Dharma to deeply align their life, to deeply design their life for a greater purpose, to live the life beyond their wildest dreams. And stuff happens. Big stuff happens. And it takes time. One foot in front of the other. But over time, that perspective leads to evolutionary growth. It leads to rapid identity evolutions. All right, number 7, we're cranking. Invest in yourself. So I've talked about this in many an episode, but like the way that most of us are raised is that you invest in mutual funds or you invest in a home ownership. And investing in yourself, making small investments into yourself all the time is what leads to a phenomenal life. So even investing in better food for yourself, investing in clothes that you love to wear, that make you feel great. So high quality, low quantity, right? Like what does that start to look like? And we'll get a lot much, more into that when we get into how to design your home for Dharma, including all the stuff, all the things in your home, aligning that to Dharma. We'll get into that in the next episode. Investing in yourself helps you see that you are your own best investment. I know from enrolling course members over years, and our courses they're not cheap because they're effective. And we want you to invest in a way that you can get a very solid return on your investment, right? And we believe that when you invest in yourself and you really lean in and do the work that needs to be done, that you are always your best investment, that you have the best return. You do way better than the tech stocks in the marketplace in a good year. And that's a lot, right? That's 20%. So can you do better than that? Yeah, I believe you should be able to do at least 50% return on investment with any investment you make on yourself. So this is big, and learning how to do this like continually, day after day. Investing in yourself also means like choosing the small habits that help you feel great tomorrow. When you do that repetitively, the next decades of your life start to look a lot better. All right, so continually investing in education, skills, resources, and relationships. And relationships is really big. A lot of us weren't taught that you should invest in better relationships. You should, right? It makes all the difference in the world. When you're paying someone to pay attention to you and help coach, guide, and mentor you, who's invested in you getting results, it's a game changer. So if anyone is listening and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that. That's not on I don't do that. You might want to think about it. Like you might really want to think about there's infinite resources. Money gets bigger every year in the marketplace, right? There's more money in the stock market year over year. There's money. And we're all using money all the time. If you keep investing in yourself and you expect huge returns, you design for big returns, and you think big, fail fast. Think big, test small, fail fast, learn always. Start to move that dial on abundance. All right, number 8. Embrace a solid B-. All right, so I talked a little bit about this with the Perfection, Carol Dweck's work on mindset, where if you have more of a fixed mindset and are orienting towards the A+ all the time, it can create paralysis, right? And that's not good. You don't want it. Sometimes people call it analysis paralysis, right? Where you're just thinking things over, you're analyzing things to the nth degree. What's fascinating about Carol Dweck's work on mindset, on fixed mindset, is that it starts to getting programmed into people at an early age. It's not something that people learn as an adult. It's something they pick up as a kid, where they're rewarded for doing things really, really well, and they're admonished for not doing things perfectly. And so they're not rewarded for learning. They're rewarded for performance. And so if you're continuing as an adult to reward yourself for performance and not reward yourself for learning, the problem is you can't learn much. And you'll only do things, this is Carol's research, you'll only do things that you can perform well on because you'll be afraid of failing. I see this all the time. Actually, many yoga teachers see this all the time, where someone's like, oh, I can't do yoga, I'm so tight. It's like, right. Maybe if you did yoga, you wouldn't be so tight. I can't surf, it's too hard. Oh, skiing, I'm a blah, 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 right? And people self-label in a negative way instead of thinking like, oh, could I get a little bit better at that? Could I fail fast and learn something? Could I get a B-? And so the reason I settled on B- is it's actually kind of a funny story. My dad, we always thought he was like an A+ student growing up. He's like a tough Jewish guy from Brooklyn. And he had this appearance of success. Like since I was little, it was like, yeah, my dad's he's a tough guy and he's successful and he's fun and all these things. But in school, he expected us to get A's, which was really funny because like somewhere around high school, I found out he got B's. And I was like, what? No way, dude. You got B's and you always expected me and my sister to get A's. By the time I hit my brother, he gave up. Anyways, I often got more or less like B. I was like a B+, sometimes A-. That was a stretch for me. B+ student in honors courses. And when I thought about it, aspiring towards greatness, absolutely. Like, aim high, aim true, like, absolutely. But what can you learn along the way to get over analysis paralysis? That's the faster path to success. Ask any successful person. Ask entrepreneurs that are successful, small business owners that are successful, that are just like meeting the marketplace with innovation, staying in the marketplace in good years and bad years, right? And what you'll find is like they're constantly pivoting, learning, growing, like what's happening next, trying new things. And if they're trying to do all that perfectly, nothing happens. So applying that to you, how would you apply that to your life right now? Like, what do you need to just actually experiment more with? Just run the experiment. Run it to learn, not to perform. All right, number 9, trust your desire. So trust your desire is all about the Shakti. I talked about that in the last episode on Dharma with like, what is Dharma and what is your deeper dream? And I talked about it in terms of all the course conversations we had on Awaken Your Dream conversations that were part of our enrollment process back in the day, and actually still are. You can have a dream session if you go to yogahealer.com/dream. And if you want the free prep videos on awake living, it's yogahealer.com/awake. In those, you'll get really in tune with desire. So if anyone's not quite awake to like what you want to do, like what your ambition is, how you want to write the next chapter of your life, like what are your bigger goals? What's your 3-year vision? There's something that got disconnected in desire. I find this is like for women often, I find that they've been taught to delay their desire. So somewhere along the line, someone was like, they're like, I want to do this. And someone's like, wait, like you can, just wait. And so they're used to delaying desire. And that's not good either. More and more, as you talk to people that are like very successful, they know what they want with a certainty. And when they find it, they just get it. Like they just go after it. They just say yes in the moment. They don't say, oh, wow, I found what I've been looking for. Maybe later, right? Or I just have to wait for this. And it's deep. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to hear this in myself 10 years ago. If I heard me talking on some podcast, or if I heard you talking on some podcast to me about this, I wouldn't have been able to hear it. I'm like barely able to hear it now. Of like, if you want it, yes, it's a yes. If it feels like a yes, it's a yes. And reconnecting those neural pathways between the Ananda Maya Kosha, goes back to the nurture and nurture 5 bodies, between that bliss body, right? Like that knows yes, the intuitive body that's able to put it into words, channeling that through the mind to take action and say like, yes, it's scary. And it's scary because it's such a big, deep yes, right? That's trust your desire. 3 to go. Again, we're going through the ethos. Like, what is the perspectives? What are the mindsets? And these are just ways to check and balance. They're ways too that have helped me coach. Any coaches that are listening, when you develop an ethos for your coaching, it enables members to learn faster and communicate in the same language because they can then coach each other. Someone else can sound like, an accountability partner can say like, it sounds like you're not trusting your desire. And then the person can go back, they can read in the book and master review, like trust your desire. Like, oh, right, I'm going to do that. And then there's exercises that go with each of these ethos. Leverage your strengths. This is number 10. Strengths. Many of you have taken StrengthsFinder, read StrengthsFinder 2.0, or taken a Gallup StrengthsFinder, or taken Colby, or Disc Profile, or How to Fascinate, Sally Hogshead, or Wealth Dynamics. You have strengths, right? You were born with certain natural abilities, and chances are you've cultivated those natural abilities because they were easier to cultivate than your unnatural abilities. So my unnatural abilities are around details and analysis, fact finding. I'm just not interested, right? I'd rather play with like big ideas and potentiality than like the devil's in the details and processes and systems and whatnot. I respect them. I've gone after learning them. But like my deepest strengths, right? If I can leverage my deepest strengths, I can actually step deeper into my Dharma. And there's a lot of different books that have been written about this. There's different perspectives on it. Like I know Benjamin Hardy, who's a behavioral scientist, he's like really against leveraging your strengths, and he's more to like learn, learn, like fill in your weaknesses. But there's a lot of great research that shows that if you actually step deeper into your strength, Brendan Bouchard wrote a whole book on it. Like, there's just a lot that you can communicate more easily to other people, that they can then access your value. So when I found out that I didn't know this about myself. I didn't know I was innovative and a futurist. I had no idea. I just was someone that was creating new curriculums in Ayurveda and tying them into what I was learning from yoga philosophy and in on the mat teacher training practice for years. I was in yoga teacher trainings for maybe, 8-10 years. There's a lot I was learning, and I just found like there's a quicker way to teach people. Now, once I took enough personality tests and learned that I always came up creator, innovator, futurist, visionary, like all those check. I had language. Like, then I had language of like, I'm an innovative teacher of Ayurveda. Right? And that makes all the difference. So when people study with me, they get a much more like where it goes in the future, like where we're going next with Ayurveda. And that's really, in many ways, what Master of You is. It's probably one of the most innovative books in Ayurveda and Dharma that's hit the market. It's a very synergistic book around the 5 elements and deep Ayurvedic teachings and Dharma and modern life and the practicalities of living in a culture that has, a sedentary lifestyle and lots of really lots of technology. And how are we doing? So if you know what your strengths are and you can communicate them, people can get a hit of where you can be honestly most useful to them. And then they can collaborate with you. Then they can learn from you. Then you can fit into what they're doing and be more helpful because they may have questions. So leveraging your strengths, knowing what they are, being able to communicate them. Number 11 of the ethos of Master of You: learn, mentor, master, co-create. So what's fascinating about this is that you don't master before you mentor, right? Did that catch anyone's attention? I actually, when I wrote out the values of Yogahealer and the values for yoga health coaching, I got this one, like this, when I wrote those out, I don't know, maybe it was 8 years ago. I got it wrong. It wasn't actually that long ago, maybe 6 years ago. I got it wrong. I put master before mentor. And what I found from reading influencers, and influencers is not about like social media influencers. It's about these 4 authors looked at these academics. They looked at all these case studies around relationships that grow faster, people that learn faster, that make deep changes faster. And they studied the Delancey Street Project in San Francisco, which is super famous for helping people who are leaving prison get back to work, and their lessons learned there with mentoring. And one of the key things that they found, and they iterate this throughout the book in a number of case studies, is that once you've learned something, you can mentor it right away. In mentoring it, you master it. It's not the other way around. In teaching someone else, you learn it better. And being able to have, fail fast, learn always, being able to access your solid B-, it makes you less scared to mentor. It makes you less scared to learn those lessons that need to be learned through communicating it to someone else. Because in that, they'll ask questions and you'll realize you don't know. And it's in filling in that gap that you don't know that you become a master. Now, once you've mastered something, you can co-create. Once you've mastered something, you unlock, right? You unlock the whole next super synergistic thing. So Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach, he talks about, first he has people like start to 10x what they're doing. Basically 10x your Dharma. So take your Dharma and multiply it by 10, and that's your Dharma. So that's his 10x program. Once people have done 10x, he looks at 100x, and that's where 2 10xers get together and co-create. And what they can expect is 100%, like a burst of exponential creativity and return on investment, and like basically bigger things, making bigger things happen. So that's the pattern. So learn, mentor, master, co-create. You can apply it to anything. I apply it to parenting all the time. Like I was talking about in a coaching call this week about Indy's learning right now how to drive the 4-wheeler pulling the boat. It's because we go surfing and we live in a condo complex. So the boat lives in the condo complex. To get the boat to the water, we have a 4-wheeler that pulls it. We all pile the boards in the boat, jump on the 4-wheeler. There's 3 of us on it. It's quite a scene. And we go to the water, put the boat in, park the four-wheeler, go surfing, come back. It sounds like a pain in the ass. It's fun, and we have time. So this is what we enjoy doing together as a family. So in any case, she loves this stuff, and she loves driving. So she's like, well, I'm going to drive the four-wheeler. I'm not sure this is legal. Or in Mexico, it's not, doesn't seem to be an issue. So in any case, she's learning how to drive the boat around on the four-wheeler, including like pulling it up a big hill, including parking, including like all the little things, attaching the four-wheeler to the boat, all these little things that are making her super competent. So in that process of learning, like if she's able to then teach someone else, she'll be a master. When she can do it, it opens up new possibilities. And she can start seeing like, oh, I could take my friends surfing. That's cool. I don't need dad to come. I'm totally incompetent in this area. So I'll be the first person that she mentors in it. All right. And that, I just want to show that like, it's always available. It's available in anything. When you're in the process of mentoring someone, so right now Winston's mentoring Indy, it slows things down. Right? It's faster for him to drive us home and drive us there, but it's in the long run not giving us what we want, right? It's not giving her what she wants either. So it's also like a go slow to go faster is what happens when you slow down to mentor in your life. All right, drum roll please. Number 12. In the ethos of Master of You, shift from consumer to collaborator. Now, we're often spoken to in a consumer mindset. Like if you pick up the paper and you read the economic section or the business section, there's so much around consumerism in there. But what we have found is that a lot of successful businesses now have much more of a collaborative viewpoint in their customers, right? Or in their clients or their patients or however you want to say it. So what happens when you start to collaborate? Now, from the beginning at Yogahealer, I just listened to basically the questions people had and turned them into workshops. And then people coming out of certain workshops had more questions. So we turned them into more workshops. And then we found that people wanted to hang out for longer together. So we created courses that were long. And people could really bond and create really healthy, strong relationships that were super progressive. This is a collaborative example, right? Of just like, what do people need next? And I'm collaborating instead of me like creating something in my little office and then saying, do you guys want this? Right? That's not collaboration. That's treating other people like consumers. I'm going to make something for them to consume. So you can look at this in terms of like your waste, like how much garbage are you creating each week? And how do you collaborate with your need for food and your need to bring things home into your house and how the packaging works and whatnot? Like what is a collaborative perspective? We can apply this to the 5 elements. Can you collaborate with space? Can you collaborate with the wind? Can you collaborate with fire? Can you collaborate with earth? How does this shift? Can you collaborate with water? How does this shift your perspective? And so what we find is it creates a much more interconnected consciousness. This reflects back to the cosmocentric perspective. So in these 12 ethos, they're all immediately applicable towards your life. And in the book, I continually reference back as you go deeper and deeper into the book and into how they apply the ethos now. The ethos in our course members, like I mentioned earlier, it creates a unified field so that people can actually help each other much more easily. At our live events, we usually have so many members come to our live events, and then we have new people. And check out the event schedule at yogahealer.com/events. Check out the event schedule and come, and you'll meet course members that like they know these ethos, or they know a chunk of them, or they've really worked deeply, 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and it's made all the difference in their life. And then you get that contact because now they're mentoring you and you're learning faster. All right, so that's how we use ethos or mindset into Dharma, how to live your deepest, most purposeful life, like now, and write the next chapter so it's even better than the last one. Again, this is Cate Stillman with yogahealer.com, releasing the book Master of You. Please order it. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and where books are sold. You can pre-order it on Amazon if it's before March 17th. If you've ever wanted to do me a favor, this is the favor. Thank you. Namaste and have a great day. I'll be back in the next few episodes on the elements. Dharma in your home is the next one.